Hello and welcome to my channel Line Shapeform. In this tutorial, I will guide you step by step on how to draw a still frame of Gojo from this anime opening sequence, covering everything from the initial sketch to the digital coloring process. If you've watched some of my videos, you know I typically use the Loomis method to draw the head. This time I'm taking a different approach to simplify things a bit. First, draw a slightly tilted line to represent the height of the head. I'll also add a straight vertical line for reference, so you can better estimate the degree of tilt of my line. Now divide the height in half. You'll need enough space below the head to fit half of a head, and about a quarter of a head above it. Now divide both the upper and lower halves into thirds, giving us 6 equal parts. Draw a horizontal line at the second mark from the top. This blue line should equal 2/3 of the entire head height, which corresponds to 4 parts. If you're drawing traditionally, you can use your pencil as a measuring tool like this. Alternatively, you can use 2 pencils as your measuring tools like this. Now draw a circle. The head will be turned slightly to the right, so we need to adjust the vertical center line of the face like this. We also need to adjust the perspective of the horizontal center line, since the head is slightly tilted down. So, draw a curved line that passes through this mark and extends to both ends of the blue line. Draw a line parallel to this one, around here. Now let's draw the contour of the head. The bottom of the eye will be at this level. At this point, we can remove the red vertical center line. Let's determine the size and positioning of both eyes. Although the right eye won't be visible, I recommend sketching it out anyway to avoid mistakes. If you only draw the left eye, you might misjudge both its size and positioning, resulting in the gap between the 2 eyes being too wide or too narrow. In this case, the shoulders are approximately 1.5 times the width of the head. The right hand will be pulling on the eye patch, so I will erase the parts that will be covered by the hand to avoid confusion. This represents the collection of muscles in the palm that are connected to the thumb. Alright, the drawing is almost finished. When it's done, I will show you parts of the coloring process. I will edit out some sections that I feel aren't necessary to show, but I hope to provide you with enough information so you can draw along. I'm using Clip Studio Paint EX version 3.2, but you should be able to follow along with any other drawing software or app. However, this tutorial is not focused on how to use Clip Studio Paint, so I won't be explaining basic commands or tool and layer functions. If you're completely new to digital drawing, you might find my explanations a bit lacking. Please let me know in the comments if you need more detailed explanations, and I will consider them for future videos. I used a basic G-pen brush on a vector layer for the line art. Let's start with the flats. I create a new raster layer below the line art layer and name it Skin. Then I fill the layer with this color. Create a new layer above the skin layer and name it Hair. Color the hair with this color. Repeat this process to color in the rest. That's it for the flats. I usually place all my flat layers into a folder and name it Flats. Let's add shading. We'll start with the hair. I will use a mix of traditional animation style cell shading and later add a few gradients with an airbrush. I create a new folder above the Flats folder and name it Shades. Then, I create a raster layer within the Shades folder and name it Hair. I use the G pen to draw the contours first. I will show you a version of the contours in white so you can see them better. Next, I fill the layer with the shade color. Repeat this process to shade the rest. Next, I will create a new folder and a new raster layer, naming the folder Highlights and the layer Hair Midtone. Then another layer for a lighter tone. And a few red highlights. I also add red light reflections to the jacket, hand, and right cheek on a new layer. Next, I create a background layer at the very bottom, beneath the Flats folder, name it BG, and fill it with this color. I positioned Gojo in the center of the canvas for this tutorial, but for a more engaging composition, you could place him further to the left. I wouldn't recommend moving him to the right, as that's where the light source is located, and we want to emphasize that rather than the darkness. Next, I use a basic soft airbrush with low opacity and this color to add some hue to the background. Create a new layer above the background layer and name it BG Red. Then I use the same brush, but with a reduced size and this color to add yellow-orange tints to the background on a new layer named BG Orange. I slightly reduce the brush size and increase the opacity to continue. I want the red and orange to stand out more in certain areas, so I first return to the BG red layer, using the same color as before but with increased opacity, and then do the same on the BG orange layer. I select the BG red layer again, and using a larger brush size with reduced opacity, I add a few more red spots. I return to the BG orange layer again to brighten up some areas using a smaller brush size and increased opacity. Next, I return to the dark BG layer, increasing the brush size and opacity to darken just the top part of the canvas with black. I go to the jacket red layer and select its content. To reflect the surrounding orange in the reds of the jacket, I use the soft airbrush with a small size and low opacity to add orange hues in various spots within the selected area. Now I select the smudge tool and choose the jacket layer within the shades folder to blur the contours of the shade in a few areas. I decide to erase the shading in this area completely. I use the eyedropper tool to select the jacket's shade color. Then I use the soft airbrush again to add gradient shading to a few areas. I will add a subtle hint of blue, red, and orange to the jacket. I will repeat this process with the skin shade layer. First, I will select the content of the skin flats layer, but I will be working on the skin shades layer. I blur some areas using the smudge tool, and then I add color gradients with the soft airbrush tool. Next, I select the eye mask layer in the flats folder and choose the reddish hue from the jacket to add red tints to the eye mask. I select a dark blue color for the other side of the eye mask. Now I move on to the hair layer in the shades folder and make a selection. I use the eyedropper to pick a color and choose a slightly lighter hue. I select the mid-tone color of the hair with the eyedropper to add hints of this color into the shaded areas as well. Next, I select the red color of the skin again to add a red tint from the atmosphere to the hair as well. Then I go to the hair layer in the flats folder, and with the hair's mid-tone color selected, I apply this lighter hue to the flat hair color. Now I will move on to the eyes. The color I used for the pupil is this, and I will use the same hue to color in the first layer of shadow. I make a selection of the iris, then create a new layer in the Shades folder and name it Iris. I select a darker blue to continue. Now let's add highlights to the eye. I want one of the highlights to cover the line art, so I create a new layer above the line art layer and name it Eye Highlights. To give the eyes a glowing effect, I pick the flat color of the iris. You can create a new layer for this in the Highlights folder, or simply draw it on the Eye Highlights layer. If you choose the latter, the glow will cover some parts of the line art. We're almost done. Next, I pick the red color from the background. Then, I access my line art layer. You have the option to either create a new layer for this or convert your vector layer into a raster layer to draw directly on the line art. After that, I create a selection around the line art. Using a soft airbrush, I color in some areas of the line art with the red hue. I want to add a little bit more red to the background, so I pick a color and go to the BG red layer. I will use a soft eraser at low opacity to lighten up the shade below the eyes a little bit. I want to better integrate Gojo into the surroundings by adding a red tint from the atmosphere on top of the character. So, I create a new layer above all others and name it Atmosphere. I use the eyedropper tool to select the red from the background, increase the size of my airbrush, and set the opacity to approximately 50%. I change the layer's blending mode from normal to overlay and adjust the layer opacity to 50%. You can skip this step since the colors used for the flats and shades already have a reddish tint. However, here's how it looks with the atmosphere layer turned off and on. You can choose which version you prefer. I use a soft eraser to remove the red atmosphere around the eyes, allowing the blue glow to stand out more. And that's it. I'll quickly show you what the atmosphere layer looks like by itself with the blending mode set back to normal and the opacity at 100%. That's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed the content. If you did, I'd appreciate a thumbs up or a comment. To stay updated on future uploads, please consider subscribing and don't forget to hit the notification bell. Thank you for watching.